start. I pressed record for our episode. I was wondering, what's Rod's voice going to sound like?
All right. It's one of those things as well for everybody who hires me as a mime artist. They have no idea what I sound like, and they haven't heard me like for years. And the first time they heard me, it's like you speak.
Yeah. Well, that shows a true professional. Like, have you seen a film called The Prestige?
No, I haven't.
Hugh Jackman. It's a Christopher Nolan film. It's Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. It's about magicians and the ultimate trick. And they watch this trick where this old magician on stage is holding a fish tank between his legs. It's like a really simple trick.
Yeah.
The real trick is him for the whole time pretending he's like 90 years old before and after.
All right.
The show. So if you watch it's a little conversation that Bale and Jackman have about this magician. It's not him on stage that's the real trick. It's everything else. So that's a great thing I've loved about your social media. It's really consistent with what you put out, and
yes,
it's so much fun, man. Because for everyone watching, this is the last episode of the Filmmakers podcast for the Isolation Film Festival. It's a long time coming.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
I'm so sorry it's taken so long.
I'm pretty patient, so I have no. Like every time it's like I come back and say that's cool, man. We can do it on that. Is
you're more patient than anyone I know. I've got to
say. Really? Yeah. No.
I'm super grateful
if you're busy,
for that.
If you're busy, that means you've got someone else. It's like that's cool. We can do it on another day.
Yeah, it's not even a money thing. It's not even I'm busy because I'm getting paid for a job. It's busy because, when you're chomping at the bit at an idea or you've got to execute got to, follow through on something, you've really got to, you got to take that moment, especially now because it's a fucking I'll swear, but it's a fucking nightmare at the moment. So,
you guys are back in lockdown, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. I work as a photographer and filmmaker for a university as well as doing everything else. And the students are back at their place. The really confusing thing is a lot of businesses are shut down, but obviously supermarkets and places like that are open.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just it's an awful situation because I know a lot of business holders. A small independent business like we all do, like we've got our favorite places to go and have coffee or whatever. So it's extremely difficult, and that's one of the reasons we started the Isolation Film Festival is because
of course
we had my anxiety level like everyone else's was creeping up that first week in March or second week in March.
Yeah.
So it was. I've got to give you so much credit for your craft. I got real respect for what you do because it was a really unique film. It really was. And I've just not had the time to put all the films up online as well separately. So I kind of want to put yours first and foremost because it is so, I'm not going to say different, it is so unique and it has this real positive energy to it.
Yeah.
And I absolutely applaud you for that because that's what people need.
Exactly, yeah. And I think whenever I do the character, which is my original character, Banjo, that sort of very childlike thing comes out. Everything is just very much about find something new and exciting. So it was fun making it. When I first heard of the one in Australia, that yours, I was thinking, what is the main thing that everybody's going through right now? I didn't want to make it about me. I want to make it a bit more generic. And I used to hear a lot from parents going, "Oh my God, my kid's turning 6." And I used to see the little kid, looking all sad, going, "Here's my birthday, and I can't even buy my friends."
Yeah.
So I felt like that's a good idea. So I slowly started progressing into creating that little short silent film, which
I know. I don't know. I know how much work goes into something creative.
Yeah.
But there's certain sequences in your film, like I think it's the shot from inside the kitchen with the doors and you taking the towel off and putting it on. I
Oh
I,
yeah,
I loved it. I think it was brilliant. I really so I watched it with Vicky, my fiance, and her
yeah.
sister, and a couple of other people. We watched all the films over 2 days, and we had a lot of over 100 submissions. And for a
Wow.
first festival, we were kind of blown away by that.
Yeah,
And yours had the most laughs because it had this childlike energy to it, and
yeah,
especially that sequence for me. The montage at the beginning of the event,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
shot of you with the at the table. I
yeah.
really tried to work in that shot, that sequence of you, but it didn't quite
All
work
right.
because I loved it so much. I thought, right, I've got to work it out, and it didn't quite
It took
work
a
out.
while to it took a
Yeah,
while to do
because
it. Yeah.
if I'd have wedged it in, it would have felt like wedging it in. It wouldn't have felt right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done your work justice. So, um,
Okay.
yeah, it was. How long did it kind of take to shoot? Was it a day? Or was it?
It basically took a because what the way it was working, it was you know when you do something in between scenes
Yes.
and and you feel this there needs to be some sort of like more like a punch, not more like no, not really like a punchline, but some sort of sequence in between, like a like imagine when you've got your song, you need the bridge in
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
something that's
Yeah.
gonna be uplifting or something new, and
Yeah.
so because it was feeling a bit stale in between, so I added that, and that was more or less like I'm gonna improvise it, see how it goes, but it was working out, so I did it in about I think that took the longest. I think that took about an hour to do. It took about
That's
an hour
impressive.
or
Yeah.
two, or just basically just to work it out properly because of the lighting and all the stuff, and
Yeah.
just the cuts and the rhythm. Because I work a lot with rhythm.
Yeah.
Because I already had the music in my head, how I was gonna play it out, and so I worked it in the sort of sequence as a rhythm. So I had a rhythm in my head, how I was gonna cut it and everything, and yeah, that basically just worked out that way. Yeah, it worked out that way.
Had
Um,
this. I love the music. It had this kind of Parisian vibe to it. This on the streets of Paris kind of thing. You know what I mean? So
yes,
I really dug the
yeah,
music as well. How
yeah.
long have
No,
you? How long have you? Is this the first film you made, or is it something you've?
no. I used to make a lot of films. If I tell you the story how
Mm,
everything came about, the filmmaking, my filmmaking, the love for filmmaking came about when I was training, because I come from a circus background.
okay.
Yeah. So there was a transition I wanted to do into becoming more of a physical comedic actor. And at that time I was training in gymnastics.
Okay.
And then I met somebody who's doing all these crazy flips everywhere. And I was going, oh my God, that is just amazing. And it turned out to be a stunt guy. And the stunt
Okay.
guy was currently working for a Jackie Chan film that was being shot in Melbourne. And I thought, dude, how do you get into like your stuff, like his falls? So like I want to learn that. I want to put that into my slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
I want to learn how to fall properly and not hurt myself because I want to continue for many years to come. And he said to me, I went through New Direction stunts and so forth, and I do. So he got in contact with them people, and I started training in. I never became a stuntman. My aim was always to be a to learn falls, to enhance my slapstick skills. And he said to me, the best way to know if you are doing what you're doing right is to make little films. So when I was in my 20s, I put down like a little show reel, which is on YouTube. If you type in Rod Lara stunts, you can see all this old footage that I used to do, like, all this, like, crazy
Yeah.
gunfights and fight scenes, which, like, but basically that's how my love of filmmaking came about.
Wow, that's incredible. It's
Yeah,
amazing you can take an element or an aspect of the stunt person
yeah,
into what you want to do. I really like that.
yeah.
Um,
And because it was especially at that time when in my 20s, when I was like so hungry just to learn everything, just to make myself stand out
yeah.
from as a performer.
Mhm.
And then from then I stumbled into filmmaking, and that's how it all began with yeah, no, it was especially just a love for how I think what differentiate between the the theater world and the
Mm.
film, they're both good. I don't want to be anybody who's watching this saying, what's going on, Rod, that you don't
Yeah,
like
yeah,
theater. But
yeah.
my love, it's the how intricate filmmaking is.
Yeah,
You can change, a certain shot. You can pick the perfect shots, put it all together, and send it out, and it's gonna be living on for 500 years or even more. It's like the music from Mozart. You put it out there, and it's still living around.
it's an admiration for the
And
craft, isn't it? It's
it
like
is,
when you look at I I used to right, this is a little step back, but I used to
yeah,
collect carry-on films, which are rude British comedies from
yeah,
like
I
this,
know them, yeah,
you know, and but it was just after that I had a kind of an awakening with film when I watched the Maltese Falcon for the first time with a few friends. We had a few drinks, and I thought my friend said, "Oh, let's put this classic film on." And as soon as I watched something slightly, better, slightly different, I started to love cinema, started to love films across the board,
yeah,
old, really old, like like Nosferatu, to something brand new. But there was something that I didn't quite understand what I liked about behind the scenes or how a film worked.
yes,
So, like, you end up being a sponge for everything. Like,
yeah,
oh, who's Walter Murch, the guy that did the sound design on Apocalypse Now? I want to know about him. I want to know about this director, this writer, this performer.
mm,
So I can absolutely appreciate that, because you are a sponge when when you're younger. It's
exactly.
and then you really find what you want to do. And um, I didn't know I was going to make a film festival. It was just
Okay.
myself and Chris Berry, who's the other presenter on the show. Um, we just had this chat saying, let's why don't we send each other short films over the break, because we didn't know how long this fucking thing was
Mm,
going to take. And we said, why don't we challenge each other, send each other briefs, we'll do that. And then I said, oh, why don't we just open this up further? Why don't we just open this up worldwide online? And it's a bit of a
yeah,
light bulb moment. I thought, right, there's probably other people doing this, but we're going to do it our way. And then I took the bull by the horns and approached it that way. And I never knew I was going to do that. But I've
yeah.
always been a good producer of short films, a good producer.
Hmm.
I'm an editor by nature, and
Okay.
I make my own stuff, but I produce more than anything else. So
Yeah,
I think you do find your niche. You do find your where you're going to focus your energy. And
yeah.
it's been crazy. And um, yeah, it's to see we had quite a few films from Australia, actually. And for the
Okay.
newest festival, Hellbound Horror Festival, that I started, and that's been quite successful as well. We had Alex Proyas, the great, he's based in Australia now. He directed The Crow and Dark City. He was one of the judges. Um,
All right.
so
It's good.
yeah, he's very good. Yeah, he's based in Sydney, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been completely crazy. I didn't know I was going to be this creative over being locked down. I thought I'd just be playing FIFA at home on the PlayStation. So yeah, how did
Yeah,
you? So yeah, how did you? Have you got a real interest in film as well?
I do have a real interesting film, and currently, right now, um, thanks to lockdown, and probably even last year, I've been transitioning my art into film,
Hmm.
and I've been getting hired more into TV and film, especially TV ads, mainly to showcase what I can do physically as a performer.
Yeah.
So this year is been a total. revelation or like a wave of, like this transition in my craft. And making a short film was a kind of a new thing that I did, but I just forgotten how much I love film.
Yeah.
Not really forgotten, but it just grew even more.
Yeah.
And people usually ask me, how do I what do I create silent films? Like that to me comes naturally. I'm not very good at writing dialogue, but everything comes out visually to me.
Yeah.
So to me, to create, I reckon that it would be the same thing as for somebody like Roman Atkinson, who creates Mr. Bean, or Jack Tati, who they had sound in their times, and even now Roman Atkinson has got sound,
Yeah.
but they are just, their nature is just to create things visually. They don't want to be they're not trying to. It's just a natural thing that comes out of them. I mean, I admire people like Tarantino, who's so good at dialogue, and he can create dialogue for each character, and each character sounds different.
Yeah.
I admire people like that. But to me, everything it's just visually, it's like a dance. So yeah. So that's
That's
basically
great.
how
That's great. I really admire that, because so many. It's incredible, because I spoke to a group of Swedish filmmakers called the Swedish Ghost Lovers. I would highly
okay.
recommend looking them on YouTube. They won an award at our last festival,
Yeah.
and their group has a unique individual in every position: a producer and the director and the writer,
Yeah.
and it's a they express themselves in a different type of energy in each of them. And like, there was someone that was as creative as yourself, as you in the team, but a different vibe. They could write a really good script, and their short film was really well written, but they
Yeah.
don't have this physicality for the direction. So she handed off her script to this small production team. So you really gotta, it's difficult, because you can focus all your energy in one thing, but when you come to make a short film on
Exactly.
your own, you really have to go, right, you need to kind of blow off the cobwebs and hone your skills on so many different things.
Yeah.
But you must have some fans on TikTok as well, because I saw some of the videos. And
Yeah, it just basically just the whole TikTok thing just came about just for the lockdown. I wasn't planning to. I mean, I've heard from TikTok, and as you go, what's the TikTok? All right, that's another thing for to worry about, because you always gotta put stuff on social media. And then I started doing the banjo clips as well, and but yeah, TikTok is just something that's kind of cool, because you can create little clips, and it kind of suits me perfect, because it's so visual
yeah,
that I can use little clips like that, and then sharing on other social media platforms. But yeah, now people have been digging my stuff on TikTok. But yeah, it was just basically for a lockdown thing. It might just stop tomorrow, But I'm not taking any seriously. It's just something like a pastime, just to keep myself.
It's difficult to continue that amount of exert that energy,
Yeah.
creating new ideas, and I'm not looking to be a YouTuber or anything like that, but
Yeah.
it's the amount of work they put in, or the sheer numbers of videos they put out
Yes.
is mind-boggling. It's almost like every day with some of them. And
Yeah, I know, especially with TikTok. Some people
yeah,
post like 20 TikToks a day. Like how like how do you do that? Like,
yeah, it's
do you
because
get yeah
it's before they go to uni, or before they really find what they want to do work-wise.
yeah
It's that it's that, because they have the time. That's it.
yeah
If you and I would probably be knee deep in that if we were a generation younger. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah
it's difficult, because you want to put content out, but you don't want it to be like, I don't know if you saw them in March or so. I was putting film reviews out, every
Yes, I saw that. Yes.
every lunchtime. And then I realized
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
started and it became popular because I was
Yeah.
getting a couple of hundred views on Instagram, which is really good. And for me, it was really good. And then I thought, shit, I've created a rod for my own back because I have to be consistent with this now.
Yeah.
And then I think the last one, I put a video up saying I'm not doing anymore because it was just
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like, even my own personal YouTube account, which has got virtually no followers, I was saying, oh, new videos every Thursday and Saturday, or Friday and Saturday. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't commit to that, especially
Yes.
when I started the Isolation Film Festival, because there was so much work. There's so much work involved. Like every day
That's
it
the
was
reason
least,
why.
yeah.
The reason why I thought when you messaged me was saying, Rod, can you make it on another day or this
Yeah,
day?
I'm so sorry about that.
I know how much you're handling. Like you juggling like YouTube channels, you juggling festivals. Then I
Yeah.
see you've got the horror film festival, you got the podcast. It's like, man, like if I was, like kudos to like big kudos to you because you are
No, I appreciate
juggling
that.
so many ideas and not just ideas. Like your stuff is so good when you're putting out in all these different platforms like YouTube, podcast, the festivals. They're so good. So you're gonna get busy, man. So I knew. So when you used to message me and say like, Rod, I can't make it. They're like, that's cool, man. I know you've got so much in your hands.
When was the first time I said to you, you're the last person I'm going to interview? Because I promised you ages ago before the first.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 months ago.
Oh, it was longer than that. I think it was longer than that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been about July. About July, you were saying you're going to interview me. So 4 5 months ago. Yeah, it's been about that long.
It's because everything took over with Hellbound because I had 4 judges to work with. I had it didn't become a bigger operation. It was actually smaller, and for both festivals, I'll let you. It's a little behind the scenes, but for both festivals, I did all the admin, all the emails, all the marketing, everything. I did myself, and there was a few things that Chris worked on because he was really busy as well. But I had fatigue after the first festival. I really did, and then it was. I really want to do a horror one. I don't know why I did it. But then I worked with Joe Alves, who's a production designer on Jaws and Close Encounters. He was one of the judges. There was Dave Kendall, Ramsey Campbell, who's a huge horror author, and then obviously Alex Proyas. So it was getting feedback from filmmakers like yourself, and it was so nice to get your emails and to get it was almost hundreds of emails after the festival finished saying thank you for including us, because as you could probably see from you watched the live show, didn't you? I think you made a comment.
I did. So
Nadia and I have been close friends for almost 15 years now, and she's based in North Carolina. I'm based in the UK, but we've been made friends over Twitter and that kind of thing. But our key thing was making people feel welcome and give them a point of focus, because I know it's just our first festival. But it was, I want like every single person I emailed back. I think there may be 2 generic emails I sent to everyone. But every other email was like a one-off to everyone each time. And it was some of it was like playing whack-a-mole, trying to keep all these plates spinning. That's what it felt like. Yeah, and now
because I mean, like what you're doing right now, it feels. Ever seen those plate spinners?
Oh, exactly.
They're spinning. You got one festival, you got your podcast, and you're trying to make sure the plates are not coming down. So you kind of. So I can whenever you were emailing me saying, Rod, can you this is how my brain works. It's just like I've got a weird brain. When you're emailing me saying, Rod, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Can we do your interview later? I was imagining you like, I'm like typing and then spinning plates and then typing in one word and spinning. That's how I was visualizing it.
The best comparable image is, Vangelis, who did the score for Blade Runner.
Yes.
If you see photos of him, he's got like 20 keyboards around him in some of his pictures. So it felt like this. I'm playing multiple pianos or something.
It is, yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's how I,
What I was enjoying was releasing the episodes each week. But I had to get to a point where I finished them to a certain degree, because obviously the Hellbound Festival was starting, and obviously with what I learned from Isolation to Hellbound was what I've got to improve, as well as manage my own time, because you only got so much time. You know when you think about an idea or how you're going to perform at a gig, you've got the amount of time you spend thinking is ridiculous. You spend so much time thinking about the idea, and I learned so much on the first festival that went on to the second, and things went really well. And it's much smaller because it was horror, but the reach was just as far. We had films from Argentina, Australia, Russia, Canada, US again. We had a few more from the US. And I've learned a few things I need to do next time. And our festival, I wanted to make it as personal as possible. That's why I was on the videos sometimes, Nadia was, and Chris was. Because we wanted to kind of connect people, But I'm really looking forward to, I really want to showcase all of the films. That all of the films will be available, all the submissions, warts and all. But yeah, what I'm gonna do, Rod, is I'm gonna show your film as the leader of the pack, so to speak. So I'm gonna work out how to do it, because you've been so patient with me. Your film's gonna be one of the first.
Exactly. Yeah. I know all about it. Yeah. So,
but no,
I've got kudos. I hadn't. Yeah.
I've got so much respect for what you do.
Thank you.
And your
Likewise.
film, because it was so different. It was so different, and you're so consistent with. I don't like to say your brand, but how you put your videos out. I absolutely love it. Really, really do appreciate it. And
I just that's what it is. It's just basically that's what comes out of me, and and I'm not gonna be putting out something that's just not me. It will look forced or fake, but that's what I do, and I mix dance with mime, and that's what it is. Yeah. So, and I'm glad people actually like it, and I appreciate everybody's art as well, because everybody brings their own thing to the table, and that's what I feel. That's what makes the world go around. Seeing
Absolutely.
Everybody's little flavor into the soup, which is So it's just
It was nice, wasn't it? It was nice to see. The thing I got a little bit of negative feedback, and I think I'll look at the camera, but I appreciate and understand everyone's slight frustration was not being able to showcase all of the films. Now, obviously that's extremely difficult, because 100 films that were around 3 minutes was going to be a massive program. It would have been a massive. So it's the same thing. If we'd have done the horror thing with all the films, it would have been 6.5 hours of just films.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not putting anyone through 6.5 hours. I love watching the Oscars, but it can get really tiresome. So, I'm going to probably put call out to all of the filmmakers from the Isolation and that. I'm all about. I'll take the feedback. I'll take the criticism and that, because then it'll inform how I approach next year's. So we're going to be doing it again next year as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm most likely. I'm planning to start, since now we're coming out of lockdown. I'm hopefully to get more like a crew and other actors involved into
if you can find
create another film.
Yeah, exactly. If you can find like-minded people that are on the same wavelength as you, you can offset. You can focus your energy where you want to.
Exactly.
And that's really important, man, because you can spread yourself too thin.
Yeah, I know. Like myself setting up the cameras and making sure that
exactly.
And that's why you talked about the sequence when I did the sequence of the towel. It was basically me watching after and go, whoa, yeah, I screwed up. I revealed too much, and I kind of screwed up. The angle wasn't straight on. It was a bit skewered, and yeah. So if I've got somebody to set up the shots and somebody for sound, and also I want to give a big shout out to if he hears this, because I promised I was gonna, my sound designer Evan Kitchener, because he designed all the ding bong, all the
that was brilliant, seamless,
yeah, and also he put up with my beatbox for my music, because I don't write music, and he's got his own studio and he was going to make it professionally. And since it was lockdown, I couldn't go to his studio, so he was put up with me with my little recording going, and then explaining to him how that need to be sounding like. And so he created a lot. So I want a big shout out to my sound designer Evan, because he put up with a lot.
Evan, you did a great job, mate.
He did a good. He's a saint. He's a very patient. I think he's more patient than me. So saint, yeah.
Like sound designers that I know, they really have to be, because there's every facet of filmmaking, you've got to have patience in many ways, because there's so much you have to do. So much you have to do. And what I'll do is I'll take that little snippet. As you probably saw, that I do little snippets of interviews. So I'll put that Evan little shout out in the promo.
No problem. That'll be great. Yeah. Because he actually helped me up a lot, because I couldn't go to his studio. Because we had restrictions as well with kilometers, so I couldn't go past that. And plus, me going to another house, and we just in another house and then another studio. It was just going to be a bit,
dodgy,
a bit hectic in terms of in the middle of the pandemic lockdown, and we couldn't do it. So we were basically communicating virtually. Either by video, phone call, or just emails of me sending little sound clips going so explaining that to somebody, and he was he actually and then he would ask me, did you like it? And I'll go, that bass is a bit low, can you raise this, can you make it a bit faster? He was he was a saint.
There's an artist called Neil Buchanan in the UK, like legendary TV presenter as well, in like the late 80s, early 90s. And he had a character, I wouldn't say it was the same, but I had a real kind of, your film took me back to that period of my life. When I was watching his character, he basically, it's a mime, but I think he was doing art at the same time. So it was a really kind of fascinating. I'll send you some links actually.
That would be great. Yeah, I always like to learn new. I always like to find out about new performers or artists who do very similar type of work.
It's great to see how they're little, like you'll see subtleties to their art that I wouldn't as well. Like little turns or like little subtle nuances. And it's you've got to learn. That's how you become a filmmaker. That's how you become a performer. Is you look at other examples and
you always learn from the best as well. You always try to learn from the best. So that's what it is. It's all about learning from the best and what makes them so good. And
absolutely.
And it's just this trait that people who are because I admire dancers as well. They're just so focused in their art. They just make it so perfect, and their determination to make it so good, and it makes them stand out from the rest who just go, oh, that'll be all right, that'll be good. Yeah, that's okay. No, it needs to be done perfect. And this is another two thing that one of the stunt guys said about Jackie Chan. You know how Jackie Chan does crazy fight scenes, and he hits his elbow, and in his fights are so intricate, and even if he hurts himself, he goes, "No, I need to get up." He said to the stunt guy, this is phrase the stunt guys use, what he told them: "Pain is temporary, film is forever."
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's basically it. You know,
You
put
suffer
your
for
best
your art.
work in
Yeah.
film because it's going to be forever going around, way past your, you know,
Yeah,
when you're
absolutely.
gone.
Yeah, yeah.
No longer is still roaming around and go, "Oh, this person did such a good job," you know, and it's still there. And so that's basically in my head all the time, you know. When I do something, it needs to be done so well because it'll be on internet world for forever.
Forever.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So, how did you get started in performing, especially this way? Where did that really
Yeah,
start? Because I
it's
know you've.
really funny.
Yeah, I'd love to
It's
know.
really strange because I mean, I was never meant to be a performer. Um, my plan was to be an electronic engineer, just like my father is. My father
Okay.
works as an electronic engineer. He's been working for, he'll be retiring this year, but he's been working 30 years, even longer, 40 years as a electronic engineer. And my plan, because I like that sort of thing as well, you know, I like, that's the reason why I like filmmaking, because I like the intricacy, I like the
How things
gadgets, I like,
work.
you know,
Yeah.
things that works. And so I was in high school. I'm not sure how they call it in the
Yeah,
UK.
pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
Secondary, yeah, secondary school. And I was there was this class kind of like electronics that you can create gadgets and pull things apart and make them work, and you know. So I was doing that, and out of the blue, completely out of the blue, I was 13 years old. One of my way before internet, so this shows my age. Teachers, they had to coordinate each student's next term subjects by hand. You know, it needs to be done by hand. So Mr. Roberts, you know, bless his, you know, he's no longer a, rest in peace. He mucked up my subjects. So for some reason or other, he put me in drama.
Oh
I ended,
wow.
I ended up in drama. Yeah, like in a drama class. Like imagine this like nerdy looking kid. And that's where banjo came about. I used to be this nerdy guy with the big glasses and
Yeah.
skinny and move my hands like that. And yeah, that's where banjo comes from. It's me as a teenager. The way banjo acts, just
Wow.
like kind of like that
Okay.
fumbling kind of idiot. That's how I was in high school. So imagine that type of guy rocking up to a drama class, and I'm going, what do they do? I'm not an actor. I'll never be planning to be an actor. So and since there was, you know, that geeky kid, I was like, I'm not gonna skip school. I'm not skipping school. So I'm gonna stick around in that class. And I thought, you know, drama was, you know, throw the ball around and just play dead or things like just games. But I never knew they had to go on stage to perform. And since I was a very shy kid, really shy, and at that time, because I'm originally from Chile, so at that time I was in Australia for just not even close to 2 years. So I was shy, petrified of speaking publicly, saying lines because I was afraid of saying the stupid words and everybody was going to laugh. So every single line they gave me, or every single role they gave me, I did it in mime because I refused to speak on stage. So
Wow.
yeah, so everybody was like, let's say if they had like a restaurant scene, there'll be the guy, the girl. I'm playing the waiter, and the guy was like, you know, blah 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 blah, and they go, oh no no, you know, having a romantic scene, and they used to come in as the waiter, and I did everything in mime because I refused to speak publicly because I was
Wow.
afraid how it's going to sound. And my teacher, Miss Barbara, another shout out because she was the one that honed that the little scene in my being. He said, "You move so well. You move so well on stage like a mime." And I said, "What's a mime? What's a mime?" So she was the one to firstly introduce me. She used to bring to each class a VHS tape, watch these: Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton,
Yeah.
Jack Dottie, Robert, and back then it was Mr. Bean was huge. So Mr. Bean, all the episodes of Mr. Bean, and even this one that Ron Atkinson did about physical comedy. He put like a montage of all these like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton. He explained how everything worked. Even that, she put me into that, and that kind of like grew in me. But it just it just became like a hobby. Like, some kids going to like chess clubs and things like that.
That was
And
me.
then yeah, and then and also I studied during when I was about 16 years old. This is how the dancing came about. I wanted to be popular with the girls. I wanted to just catch the girls because I was this skinny kid with pimples and big glasses. And I said, like, I want to be the hot guy. So I used to see these guys in the hall, and they used to, practice breakdance and all these like, crazy things and in the wave and, and move around. And all the girls used to be stuck in the go, ah! And screaming their heads off and go, oh, he's so hot. I wanted to be like that. So I just approached these guys, can you teach me some breakdance? And then I started matching that breakdance, and mime is so similar because you use
Absolutely,
isolation and all that. Yeah. So, and then from then on, I got into dancing, and then when I graduated from high school, I took a gap year because I wanted to work and then go to uni. More of like an IT engineering school. But my coach in gymnastics, because a friend of mine out of the blue, that how the universe works, out of the blue, he said to me, Rod, would you be able to come down to, would you like to just go to gymnastics, man? It's like, gymnastics? What are you talking about? I don't want to do gymnastics. Come, man, it'll be fun. So I went there and I saw a lot of guys doing flips and things like that. And my coach, he was a dancer at this dance school. And I became quite good at, I became quite strong and spotting and things like that at, holding other. And he said to me, Circus Oz, this other circus in Australia, they are looking for performers. And I said, you should go and audition. And I said, I'm not going to go audition for them. Anyway, I went to audition for them and I started working for them. So twice the university said to me, you're not meant to be this, this engineering sort of dude. You should be doing this performing thing. And from then on, for the past 22 years now, I've been performing professionally. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Just completely out of the blue. And that's how I got into performing. I mean, I never went to mum or my parents and say, oh, I want to get into drama school or I want to get into dancing. It just came by mere chance, and the whole mime, it just came naturally. And I felt that mime to me was something that's embedded in me. Everything, everything came out naturally. And then from then on, I started getting hired for shows and TV ads, TV commercials, and here I am now. And
that's great, man. That's really great.
Making films now. So,
isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing how important key people are in your life?
Exactly.
Like those teachers, those breakdancers. They really, those moments, it's so nice to be able to look back and remember and thank those people. Like the teacher you mentioned before, the shout out.
Yeah.
Because they do shape your lives. And I value 2 or 3 teachers in my past. They didn't necessarily, they gave me focus in different ways. They've kind of shaped who I am, as well as everyone else, your friends and family. But I had a history teacher, Mrs. Hull, shout out to you. She gave me she helped inform my, what's the best way to describe it? How you could have a passion for something. She was so passionate about history, and especially around early 20th century with the First and Second World War, that kind of thing. And with her enthusiasm, I got enthusiastic about what I did. So it was these people are so important. Like, I've got a very good friend, and without him, Will, I probably wouldn't be doing filmmaking. I'd be doing something else, probably sound or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's incredible. Like, these teachers and people in, you just need really good people around you. You need, I feel like I'm in a lucky position in terms of my family and friends. I've been lucky with who I've hung around with,
Yeah.
because they've been a positive influence on me. Like, I'll say this. My eldest brother, in his earlier life, around when I was, say, 97, 98, he didn't have the best influence around him. Now
Okay.
he's in a much better place. He's in a great relationship. His missus is fantastic. He's in a good job. But when in his early in his life, it really kind of affected him. Like, a very angry individual, it was just angry at everyone. And
Wow.
because, that's what, if, you have that knock-on effect. How you were at school, it's not necessarily how you performed at school, the grades, it's how you developed. Development is, nurturing someone is so important. And
Yeah.
people get left behind at schools, and it's devastating, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing to be able to recall people that have influenced your life, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's and also yeah, and you pointed that out as well. The people who I this is always this thing about, you attract your tribe. You always attract your
Absolutely.
tribe. So the people who influence you, you kind of attracted them somehow. And also you point one thing, a really good point there about the people that I surrounded myself. They were so passionate. They were so passionate. Like my teacher, she was so passionate about, look at this guy, the way he moves. It's like she was so passionate about,
Yeah,
and also the guys who were, taught me dancing. Anybody else who I managed to work in, the passion was so contagious that I just felt that I just needed to just like grab that, and you kind of like naturally just grab that and put it into your system, and you go,
absolutely.
yeah, I want to follow that. You're right, you're right. Same with my coach. It's like, no man, you should definitely go into this like audition. So every person that I met who influenced me into the path that I headed towards, um, yeah, they were so passionate about their art and about the craft, and it's like,
Yeah.
so they basically honed that in me, and I went with it. Otherwise, I reckon if I continue in the electronics, I would have been one of the Mythbusters guy, just blowing things up. Yeah, just
Yeah,
working
Adam
on
Savage.
TV and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
gadgets and blowing things up. Yeah, most likely I would have been in some sort of entertainment industry or creating robots or little
Yeah.
gadgets for films, most likely. But kudos to them for influencing
If
me,
you,
and just
yeah,
same with
exactly.
you.
If you look at Adam Savage, one of the Mythbusters from the US show, when you watch his, I think it's called Tested. It's on YouTube, and when you watch him, his enthusiasm for what he does
Yeah,
is it's really, it's amazing how infectious it is. I
it
was
is.
watching, I can't remember his character name in Flash Gordon, but Brian Blessed, who played the kind of winged guy with a huge beard, and he
Yeah.
shouts, "Gordon's alive!" That's his famous line from the film. I heard him on a British talk show years ago talking about wanting to climb Mount Everest, and
Oh, yeah.
I just watched the show because he was on it. I thought, fantastic! I love Brian Blessed. I met him once. Amazing guy. And
Yeah.
after I saw him talking passionately about mountain climbing, I wanted to go and climb a fucking mountain. You know,
Yeah.
it's because it's an enthusiasm is a huge motivator, and it's really interesting. And I've tried to I try to cultivate that to a certain degree with um, the Hellbound Festival, especially
Mm.
because I wanted people to feel uh, not wanted, but that sounds really cheesy. I wanted people to feel like they were being listened to, and
Mm-hmm.
they were part of something special. And I knew my enthusiasm for what I was doing was going to be really important to get more submissions, that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
it helped get some of the judges as well, because I was really passionate. And the important thing is when I was getting these judges, I was informed as well. I knew what I was talking about with
Yeah.
their film history, their career, that kind of thing. And you'll be listened to if you've got enthusiasm, you're passionate about something. People will
Yeah.
listen,
Exactly.
and they'll
Yeah.
really listen. They won't just switch off. So,
Mm.
and like I had a lecturer, thinking about it now, I had a lecturer at University of Manchester, and it was like it was one of these modules that wasn't really anything to do with my film production course, but it was about English literature. And the way he was talking about Shakespeare, I was like, it was amazing just listening to this guy, And I
Yeah.
was always there on time. It was like
Yeah.
200 people. It's this huge auditorium. I was always there. So yeah, I think Rod and I can say to everyone now, thanks to all those teachers and people that inform you in your life, because you become, it shapes you who you are. It's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and also in high school, I it was the first time I got into media studies, and that was the first time I actually create a little film just for that subject, and it was a silent film. It just came out to be a silent
Oh,
film. It
okay.
wasn't meant to be, and then I realized, this is what I do. I create stuff visually. I can't write dialogue. Everybody, all the other kids was like, gangster films, writing dialogues,
Yeah.
hey Holmes, that, but kind of like back then was kind of like the 90s,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah,
and I was just creating this little silent film about, just this guy trying to deliver this package to somebody, and that's when I realized that this is what I do, and this is where I'm kind of heading towards. But it wasn't until I graduated from high school that I realized this is it's just this is what the universe was meant to be, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened to you as well. You had a revelation
yeah.
saying, yeah, I feel comfortable with this sort of stuff, and this is who I am. And
Exactly.
yeah, and then in between the bridge between being a circus performer and a mime artist, I was kind of like, oh, what if it fails? I went to film school, so I also went to film school and studied film. I studied narrative visual effects, so I did that as well. So just to learn more about the lingo,
Yeah.
which has helped me now for TV ads when I've done TV ads as well and making films. In terms of directors, especially for TV, they don't have much patience for actors asking what's a CU, what's blocking, what's
Yeah.
hitting your mark means,
You've really got
So
to
I
know.
learned all that
Exactly.
sort
Yeah.
of
It's so
lingo, and I love
important.
it. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
It's
Yeah.
really important to know. You've got to have a grasp of almost every aspect of production to a certain degree, because you
Yes.
really need, like, people, and it's, people are on time limit, people are on a budget, they don't have time to mess about with a new
Yes.
actor or a new performer or whoever. So that's a really good reason to do that. To be at film school is to understand how things work, how things really work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes years to truly understand how something's put together. And um, like I'll absolutely be doing both festivals next year, and I've got a few short film ideas um, that I'm gonna do. I've got an idea, a film about loss, about someone coming to terms with losing a family, and
Yeah.
with an actress friend of mine called Kasha. Shout out to Kasha. She's amazing. She was in Justice League,
Okay.
the huge film. She was in that. She had four lines of dialogue in it, and I think for the new Zack Snyder cut, she's going to get cut out of it. So
Oh.
she's going to be gutted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's been working as an actress for forever, and I mean, like,
Okay.
since she could work, she's been doing it for. I've known her almost 20 years now. She's been doing it for
Wow.
at least 20 years, and she's around
Good
our age as
friends.
well. Yeah, we're very good friends, and
Yeah.
so she a few years ago she sent a message to me, and we're every so often And you know, when you value a friend, you really want to keep in contact with them. So we
Yeah.
send each other messages every month or so. And she sent me a message a few years ago and said, "Look out for me in the cinema." And I said, "What do you mean?" You know, the biggest film next week? And I said, "Yeah, Justice League, Batman, Superman, all that. I'm in it." I'm like, "What? Why didn't you ever tell me this before?" And obviously, she's got NDAs. Her credits didn't reflect the film. So
Yeah.
I went to see it in IMAX. I thought, right, she's a very good friend of mine. I need to go and see her on the biggest screen possible.
Yeah.
And then she had 4 lines of dialogue in a huge movie, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was so impressed. And then since she got that part, her agent changed. She got more roles. She got offered more. She got offered small parts in big films and big parts in smaller films. So she was getting offered more and more stuff. So it's amazing how one thing can spiral. Like, you know when you get an advert, it's like the
Yeah.
positive experience with someone. They'll remember you if you work with them well. Even if the
Yes.
subject matter of the next one doesn't suit you, they'll remember you more than
Yeah.
some generic actor. So you've got to make an impression without embarrassing yourself.
Yeah, and also it's not just that. Like everybody who I've actually worked with, and I even got an experience. They see how you treat others. If you're a nice
Absolutely.
person and you treat other with this respect, and you're not a diva, um, yeah, you are gonna be. Because I remember this second AD when I years ago I worked in this TV ad for all the Paso. And my role was to play like a Mexican uncle throwing forks into like a bullseye. So I was throwing
Yeah,
forks,
a
and that's the
dartboard.
ad.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, and that was basically the ad, the comedic turnaround, that we had so many forks we didn't know what to do about with them, and then they bring this new rice thing for all the pasta. We were all using the forks to eat rice. Anyway, on that, I was called in at 7 a.m. For the ad, and then I didn't do my scene until 3 p.m. So I
that's
spent
typical, isn't
all
it? Yeah.
day just hanging around. You feel that you just hang around. And there used to be this guy, the second AD, Adrian. He was a ninja. Literally, it's like, would you like some green tea? Sure, I'll have some green tea, because I was just drinking so much green tea. Would you like some green tea? Sure. Dude, that was quick. So when I finished the actual shoot, I no, he wasn't a second AD. Sorry, he was a runner, and then
Okay.
the second AD thing comes later. He was a runner. He was just a runner guy, and he was just basically giving food to everybody, and nobody. He never missed anybody. And when I finished that thing, I thanked him. It's like, dude, you worked harder than everybody else here. I felt, because he was just running around. He was always running around. And then I did another ad for Carlton Cold, and I saw Adrian. It's like, dude, what do you bring here? And he was the second AD, and
The
he
same
said,
guy.
same guy. He
That's
years
incredible.
later, he became the second AD, and he said, I saw your audition tape. He was with the director, second AD. He said he was everybody. I said, I saw your audition tape. So imagine if I was a complete. It's like that. I know
Exactly.
that guy,
Exactly.
and,
Yeah.
and he was being a complete, you know to everybody, best not to get him. So yeah, like, I mean,
That's incredible,
the
man. That's a
film
great
industry
story.
is
Yeah.
so small, and I think it goes to saying to your friend, as well, who appeared in the film.
Yeah.
She not only has a talent, she also is. He makes a good impression on everybody. It's like, I like to work with her and spend 14 hours a day with this person,
Yeah.
just to because the long shoots. So it's all about also how you treat others, and how you connect with others, and how you communicate with others.
Absolutely.
And because I mean, you don't want to be stuck with somebody who's just gonna make your day hell. So that's
I'll tell you a funny story. It's not as good as that, but
yeah,
in I think it was the end of the second year of university. So this was like '07, something like that. I always get the dates slightly out, but I think it's 2007. A friend of mine at university, a friend of her family worked in a TV production company called Irish Dreamtime, which is owned by Pierce Brosnan, and it co-produced Thomas Crown Affair and some of his smaller movies in the late 90s and 2000s and that. And he said, "Oh, I need runners for production in London." And Katie, who was the friend at university, she went down to that, and I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." She came back after a month saying, "Oh, they're looking for someone else. Would you be interested?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And I was at an age, because I went to university slightly later than as people that could go earlier, and I thought, "Yeah, I'll do it." My head's in the right place in terms of maturity and all of that, and how the world works. I know it's going to be for nothing. There's going to be no cash, but I thought this is going to be a couple of weeks of work, and then I'll come back and it'll be a good experience. So when I went to work on it, I didn't realize the runner, the position I was in was the post-production that was doing running work for the director, the editor, the co-editor, the screenwriter, and the huge producer that came over from the US. And I'll tell you about that in a sec. And I was like, "Oh shit, this is quite a big deal." It's a $30 million film. It had Gerard Butler, Maria Bello, and Piers Brosnan, but it was the post-production. It wasn't during production, so you didn't see the stars, but got to meet some incredible people. And one of the first things, Heidi Freeman, shout out to Heidi. She's wonderful. She was the assistant editor. She's worked on Handmaid's Tale, that kind of thing, and so did the director of the film. And she said to me, because there was quite a lot of things to do in a short period of time, and then there was periods where there's nothing to do. So she said, watch the film through, see what you think, and we'll chat about the film. And throughout the period of actually the post-production I worked on, they gave you a scene just to practice your editing on. So I was editing a huge feature film as a test, and it was like a dream, an absolute dream. And I got great memories from that. So I watched the whole film, apart from, say, the last 20 minutes. And I thought, it was pretty good. And I can be too honest. If you play poker against me, you'll be able to read me in a heartbeat, and you'll know what cards I have. That's how.
Yeah.
I have my heart on my sleeve. You know what I mean? You really get the honest mates. There's no facade. There's no point. Life's too short.
Yeah.
And I saw this guy with his cravat and suit sitting down in the editor's chair. The director and the editor were off for lunch. This guy was wandering around. I was like, "Who's this guy? I don't know this guy." And he was like, "Oh, where's Mike? Where's Mike?" He had this really posh English accent. "Where's Mike? He was very lovey, the kind of in crowd in a circle. I'm not too sure where Mike is. Would you like to take a seat?" And he's gone for about half an hour, so he's bound to be back in the next 20 minutes or so. "Oh, yeah, no problem." Okay. I said, "Would you like a cup of tea or something?" "Yeah, I'll have a cup of tea." I says, "Oh, have you seen the films?" "Oh, yeah, I saw. You mean Butterfly on a Wheel?" It was called Shattered in the US and Butterfly on a Wheel in the UK.
Okay.
Only small film. And he said, "What did you think of it?" I said, "Oh, yeah, it was pretty good." And he read my face and, "What do you mean pretty good?" I was like, "Oh shit. What have I just said now? What have I just said?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, I really enjoyed it."
Just sweating.
And then Heidi came in. I was like, "Oh my God, I feel like a right dickhead." He gave me a look. He was talking to her, then he gave me a look. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna get sacked, even though I wasn't getting paid. I was gonna get sent home." That was in London. All the post-production was in Goldcrest, which has done post-production on giant movies, And and then I think it was a couple of days later, I was like, "Fucking hell, that was awful." And then I saw him every so often. He gave me glances. I was so pissed off. So Heidi said, "Oh, did you finish watching the film?" I said, No, I need to. "Oh, you need to watch that end of the film." So I watched the whole film again and the last 20 minutes. And the last 20 minutes, the twist, there's a big twist at the end, really elevated the film. I was like, "Oh shit, this is actually really good." So I was like, "Oh, balls." That's why he was so put out by what I said, because it was really good in the end. And as soon as I can't remember the screenwriter's name. It was his first feature film as well. And he was the screenwriter of the movie. And Heidi, that, when Heidi came back and he gave me that look, she saw me a little bit later and said, "Oh, that's, I can't remember his name now." that's the screenwriter of the film. It's his first film.
All right.
Fuck.
No wonder you said, yeah, pretty good. What do you mean pretty good? Yeah.
It was a $30 million film, and it was like
yeah.
Icon Films were co-producing it, Mel Gibson's production company and Pierce Brosnan's company.
Yeah.
So it was a big small deal. So I watched the film again. I saw the screenwriter. I saw, let's call him Jack. Oh, Jack, I loved the film. The ending was great. And he said, bullshit. And then he burst out laughing, and we had this kind of release of energy, and it was super positive. It was a really positive experience. We laughed about it, and then we had this really strong bond between us.
Good.
So it was, and that experience was amazing. I met Robert Davi, who's Davey. He's co-founded Icon Films with Mel Gibson. So I met some really big people, and they wanted me to work on that for the rest of the 4-month period, but I couldn't. I had to go back to university, and that was.
Oh, really?
That was the biggest regret I ever had. Every so often I have a little thought about it. Whenever I see a Bond film with Pierce Brosnan in, I have this little thought, So it's sorry that was a long-winded story, but
no. Like I get it. You're also talking about, because I went to film school. I was in my mid-20s when I went to film school, so I really kind of knew where I was heading, and same with you.
That runner was key. That if you hadn't been a really nice guy and been genuine. Yeah, you wouldn't have got that other gig. He would have said, "Nah, don't bother with him."
Most likely, because he even said, "I saw your because if you type in Rod Lara, Captain Cold, you can see I played a Yeti." So I got hired because of my mime skills, my physicality, So I had to be very ape-like, and when you move, you gotta be, everything's just bigger than usual. It's like when you move your body. So I literally had to emulate that in the audition process. And Adrian, he saw that and he said, "I saw your audition tape." And I went, "Oh, cool." So imagine if I was a complete,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's something I wanted
person.
Exactly. That's something I wanted to ask you about, actually. What's your kind of regime for keeping flexible and fit? Because you've really got to be, you can't be creaky. You can't have, I don't feel comfortable, got a bad back.
Yeah, the best. I mean, if whoever wants to learn, whoever wants to, because I do my daily routine at the gym. Now they open, which is mainly just the body fluid. Because everything is. I'm not about becoming a bodybuilder. It's all about keeping your core, which is your body, strong, because you're gonna make leaps and bounce, and you're gonna be light. But the best training that I've actually had is dancing. Actually, the link between mime and dance is so intertwined.
It's pretty much the same thing, isn't it? It's like so close to each other.
It is. So everything that you do in terms of stretching, you gotta stretch. It's all dance, and even when you when you're practicing moves or certain things, it all comes from dance. So practicing certain sequences with music in a dance sort of way, you just gotta make yourself, you automatically, your body becomes flexible. And it's funny because now that I'm getting older, I think about things a bit more than before. Before I used to be just more of, I can make a leap, but now I'm thinking about
a bit more,
how can I make this, and I'm not going to be twisting my ankle, things like that. But your muscle memory, it sticks around, and the regime that you keep up, your body naturally stays limber, and that's what's all about, staying limber.
I've seen that with a lot of dancers and performers in the UK. I can't name names. That there's a few that are really famous in the UK. They're also performers, and in terms of presenting, that kind of thing. And they're much, much older. They're like 60s, 70s, and they're like Fred Astaire. They remember, like, there's a sequence at I think it was the Oscars. I don't know the year, but it was
Yes,
Fred Astaire. And did you see that sequence with Fred Astaire? I think it's Fred Astaire, where he never won an Oscar, but it was with Bob Hope, and Bob Hope presented it, and
yes.
he just goes
When
into this
Bob Hope said, "Are you retiring?" and then he said like,
oh,
"No, yeah, I have," and then he started pressing into like a dance
that's an
sequence.
incredible thing to be.
Yeah,
That look at that guy. That's you don't have to be an old guy that's just stuck with a stoop.
exactly.
If you're disciplined, like I need to be more in terms of weight and not sitting down at a fucking table all the time.
Mm,
But that's really something to admire and to focus because his energy and like the energy you have, it'll keep you in really good stead for your entire future.
it does.
Um, so yeah,
Because
it's
and also because this sort of work as well is so physically demanding
yeah,
that if you don't keep your stamina, you can be hard for something and you're gonna be gone. Like in 5 minutes, you're gonna
you'll
be
be
going,
broken. Yeah,
I'm puffed out. I can't go on anymore. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, it's just basically you gotta keep your stamina, and you naturally do if you practice your what you do. And also what I should explain to when I do my workshops, my workshops, if you see people like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Groucho Marx, even Marcel, they're all brilliant dancers. They were naturally like in real
yeah.
life, they were like beautiful dancers. And
That's so
that's
true.
basically
Yeah,
what brings that in you. It brings a dancer in you because they're so intertwined. So
that's so true. I didn't realize you make a really good point. I love the Marx Brothers. I haven't watched one of their
yes.
films for years. I think it's Day at the Races. I'll talk about Groucho in just a second. There's Day at the Races where there's a police officer after them, or it might be a Night at the Opera, where they use beds as doors. And
Oh yes.
oh my god, it's such an amazing like achievement, and that's what I like about your film is that little moment. If someone else had filmed that, they might have used different camera angles for that sequence, and it wouldn't have
Hmm.
worked as well because people would have said, "Oh yeah, right, multiple takes, whatever, or multiple cuts."
Yeah.
But that one sequence showed your skill. You see, it was kind of a good
Mm.
calling card for what you do. And
Yeah.
Groucho, when I saw Groucho in a lot of those early films, he danced around. There's little moments where he showed what he could really do,
Yeah.
and it was like, wow, it's like it's just completely fluid, and it's something to marvel. And
Yeah.
that's why we really enjoyed your film, and
Oh, thank you.
it brought my family a lot of smiles when we watched your film. It was really great.
Oh, good. That's my aim with
Yeah,
especially when I bring the banjo character, which I always tell everybody that I based it in myself as a teenager. That everything is so,
yeah.
it's just everything's so new. Like I want to try that out. Yeah, I'll try that out. It doesn't work. Oh my god! But I'll give it another try. Yeah.
How
So I
did you
want to bring
do
that
exactly?
childlike.
Yeah, it worked. It worked really well. How did you do the little whispering voices from around the apartment outside when he
Oh,
was?
that was Evan. Evan did that in he got a few people just to create to put voices into, so he created the little sequence of the
Yeah,
voices. So that's
he
a nice shout
really
out to
Evan
Evan
did a
to
great job.
for the
Yeah,
sound design in that. Yeah.
he did.
And when I came, because I mean at the beginning it sounded like echoey, kind of ghostly, and then Banjo's like sitting at the table going, what's that? And then he realizes, then when he steps out into the window at the end of the film, you can actually see that all his neighbors from below, everywhere, wishing him happy birthday in a very sort of lockdown, amicable sort of
Yeah,
way. But yeah, it was all thanks to Evan, who had that idea that it should be brought up not straight away sounding like voices. It should sound like ghosts, like little ghosts,
yeah,
Are they in his head? But no, they're actually his neighbors saying happy birthday to Banjo. Yeah.
yeah. It was very clever short film, and I really hope we all get to see more as well.
Oh,
Um,
you're definitely going to be
I
seeing,
was
yeah,
thinking
I've
that
got,
you could almost switch. You could almost switch it up in many ways. You could have a mime character, but then almost have something outside of the mime, where it's more of a drama, with you as an actor. So
Yeah.
there's tons of opportunity, you know.
Oh, the millions. Yeah, there's millions of opportunities and ideas that I have. Yeah, that I've got. Finally, now that we coming out, I can bring like a crew, and we can start working on that. And yeah, because I've got many more projects coming up. Yeah, that I would
really
like to be bringing forth into film festivals. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people will really appreciate the originality you have as well. I think that's what's the most attractive thing about your film, is how original it was compared to other people's.
Oh, thank you.
I've got to say, across the board, it was really a pleasure to see all of the films, and it was just a different energy. That's what I really liked about it, and it was the innocence of the character. I think that was like what you said about the voices in his head. They could have been, you know. So it's nice to be able to have in the writing of the film, and when those voices, it could still be in his head, but people will talk about that past its point, past the end of it, you know. So, Rod, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Likewise.
Mate. This has been really great fun, mate. And please let us know of anything you have in the future. I know it's tricky to put content out at the moment, but we're more than happy. I'm more than happy to post new films or stills, and this will probably go up next Friday. Obviously, there's other bits and bobs, but I'm sure it'll go up next Friday because I can edit this on Monday. I'm not really going to cut anything out anyway, but it's just I want to.
You can if I'm mumbling too much and I'm going
That's usually me. It's usually me.
Yeah.
Usually you can hear my Tony Soprano heavy breathing. You know. So.
Oh right. Yeah.
This has been great, mate, and thank you so much. You've been a standout guy, and you've been extremely patient as well.
Likewise, I and all your stuff, man. Like I said, I was so patient because I knew you were, spinning so many plates at once. But all your content, what you're coming up with, is just brilliant, man. I really appreciate admiration for you. I've got huge admiration for you.
I really, really do appreciate
it. So I feel really honored to be
interviewed
by
you.
Thank you.
That's very kind, mate. And have a think about, obviously, we've got Isolation Film Festival next year. If you could submit something for that, that'd be amazing. And
I will.
Think about a horror, kind of a mime character, but with horror. That would be incredible for Hellbound next year. So that'd be really...
I've actually got something like a very David Lynchy type of thing.
It could be so sinister as well.
Yeah. I know. That's what it is. Yeah, it's got this like sinister twist, but it's in the absurd as well. So yeah, it can really work.
Love that, mate. Well, one last thing.
Sure.
This is more to Australia as a whole. I loved there's so much about me that I have from Australian culture, especially kids shows back in the 90s, like Heartbreak High and Pugwall Summer. Honestly, I know it's odd to, every Australian I speak to, have you seen this? It's whatever. And but it's informed me, like Pugwall Summer. I end up singing some of the songs or saying some of the lines. I know it sounds ridiculous. Like 25 years later. But yeah, it's Australia's got such great, strong content makers and creatives. It's fantastic. Like the Australian films and submissions we had for the Isolation Film Festival were fantastic, really. And we received a music video called Hollywood Dead for the Hellbound Festival. And it was I'll send you a link to that as well. It's brilliant.
Let's see it.
But yeah, thank you very much, Rod. This has been absolutely
no worries. Likewise.
And I'll send you the screenshots. If you've got a headshot, by the way, a preferred photo of you, can you send that over to me on the email?
Yeah, no worries. I'll send to you now. I've got like a proper headshot for actors, all the stuff. Yeah.
Because that'll go on the YouTube thumbnail and everything as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, top man. Have a good day, mate.
You too, man. Have a good one.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.